If we logically follow the money, we find the control. And when we've found the control, we have found the controllers. Let's be really clear. Space, alien, life form. The sheer fact that Senator Schumer put that in the wording speaks volumes about the importance of this information. Implants are real. I worked in the aerospace industry, and there are levels where implants become mandatory. Let's hope in 5 years that people like you and I could be in an auditorium like this, being introduced to an extraterrestrial biological intelligence who actually cares whether we live or die. Thank you, everyone. It is a hard life when you decide that you would really like to have a priority in truth on a planet and in a country in which truth is so dangerous that it always has to be deflected. And right now, I don't think personally that it has been a more dangerous time since December 7th of 1941 than what we are experiencing right now. And that includes information that I have about our government's efforts to collaborate with non-humans. And that the big story issues having to do with why bloodless, trackless animal mutilations by ETs, why the patterns in cereal crops around the world. And it's been, for me now, 45 years since the very beginning of talking to sheriffs, starting in the fall of 1979, about the bloodless, trackless animal mutilations, and hearing law enforcement telling me how they saw an animal being lifted up in a beam of light into an object in the sky, and not only were they able to see it, but they were able to provide photographs that were related to the event, meaning beams in the sky, lights caught on time-lapse. And we sit here now in the beginning of March of 2024, when perhaps the planet, in terms of human war, is as precarious as it was in December 7th, 1941, when we entered World War II. And I say this as a prelude because it is becoming so confusing. Sources that I have had that have been very accurate over the last 20, 30 years themselves are puzzled about the push, shove, stop, go that is happening in the Pentagon, that is happening in JSOC, in which there seems to be a pushback against even allowing Representative Burchett to continue holding the House Senate committee hearings as he did in the summer, and that there appears to be efforts now to slam everything back down again. And the question that every 24 cycle of my life, because I get so much information and I have to weed through, and tonight I thought, I was asked if I would talk a little bit about recent whistleblower information, and I would like to do some reading and then turn it to you for some questions. Does that make sense? 5 months ago, on September 13th, 2023, I produced an Earth Files YouTube channel broadcast around this question, quote, does Edwards Air Force Base Detachment 3 have ET implant removal programs, close quote. And for those of you who may have missed that, it's a very important program. You can go back into the Earth Files YouTube channel to any Wednesday and screen the program. And this had to do with several. I had at least half a dozen military people with military backgrounds talk about how they were ordered to go and have the back molars or the upper molars, where they were told that they either had something that had to be taken out, or that they were taking out, meaning the military dentists, we're taking out the molars in order to prevent something. And that's where I now have a large file of people who have information about their very gums, their very bones, their very teeth being used in some kind of a military program, in the past at least, in which they come to the conclusion, based on events that occur after the dentistry, that they are being monitored 24/7. And recently, following that program, came this message to me from an anonymous sender into my Proton mail. Quote, implants are real. I worked in the aerospace industry, and there are levels where implants become mandatory. I didn't go into that spectrum and didn't want anything to do with it. But I have a person who is close to me who has implants. They are hell, I promise. Your mind is compromised, your thoughts with a click. They can put you to sleep or do whatever they next need to do with you. And the implication is that human controllers are doing what the implants can also do from non-human controllers. And I can share a tiny bit with you, Linda. Quote, we are about to experience the worst time in the history of Earth. Expect Iran and Israel to clash, with Iran becoming a glow in the dark future. And then the issue with disclosure about ETs. Disclosure is not about companies revealing even the tiniest of their tech, but about the security forces surrounding each of them, allowing it to happen. For each company, there is a range of considerations. For some, it's simple. They have some tech, and that's it. They want to sell it, and the government wants it. For others, they have tech and help from ETs, while for others, they are involved in the human hybrid system on Earth. The security that surrounds each of these companies is basically one force. But there is one entity for the Navy and another for the CIA, for NASA, for Air Force, but they are all expert operators taken from special operations. They tend to follow the same profiles and operate outside of the law in every instance. They are truly untouchable. In order for anything to be released, the entire security force on both needs must equally agree. Well, good luck with that. The entirety of the program must be extremely careful not to disclose the contract that has existed for decades, where they share technology in trade for human hybridization. Full disclosure about that will require a miracle, close quote. And I asked him back in a Proton mail from me, who do you think now holds the strongest power over the Pentagon? And who is pulling the strings on the once Aero director Kirkpatrick puppet? Were headlines about how he is in charge of yet another facet that essentially is saying, no, we don't have anything related to UFOs and ETs. And why they are continuing this farcical cover-up through the Aero office, I think it is called confusion, put out multiple contradictory headlines, keeps the public saying, oh, it can't be true, and then they win. And I'm sitting here tonight because I truly, truly hope that reporting the truth for as long as I have, that it is beginning to have some impact. It certainly seems to from some people who have contacted me who have information that I have been able to verify. We're at a very strange schizophrenic time. So when I ask who is pulling the strings on the once Aero director Kirkpatrick, the reply that I received from the man with information about hybridization and implants, he said, quote, your question about who runs the Pentagon now is basically asking who runs this world. If we look at the logistics of countries and military, they are all economy-based. Those who are in control of the goods and services of the economy, therefore, control the countries and militaries. It is widely known that investment companies such as BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own controlling shares of the top corporations on Earth. It's the people who own those companies and the banks within who control the logistics of each country and military. If we logically follow the money, we find the control. And when we've found the control, we have found the controllers. Close quote. Another anonymous sender emailed on February 15th, 2024, quote, "My father worked off and on at the NTS, the Nevada test site. He and other locals knew where and when to observe strange lights in the sky. My father was an electrician who worked on nuclear test rigging. But over the years of his service, he was exposed to much more than what his primary duties required. He was privy to people and information that compartmentalization should not have permitted. Here are just a few details that my father expressed that two other men, Bob Lazar and Charles J. Hall, said the UFO flights that they were seeing at the Nevada test site were on a schedule. My father also said he knew when one could expect to see the UFOs. Hall said the tall whites had a base in a remote area of the desert in the confines of that base. And my father said that the UFOs did not use the Groom Lake, Nevada runways. Instead, they came and went from behind mountains east of the secret airfield. What do you expect will happen? More public hearings or less as the highly charged politics of 2024 unfold under the Joint Special Operations Command, known as JSOC? Which do you think will be reported first as having a high civilization? Proxima B, because there is artificial light that we already know is there through the help of the Webb telescope, or Planet E in the TRAPPIST-1 system 40 light years from Earth? Or another planet. What will happen by spring 2024? 3, is eye-to-eye discussion in the matter world on or off the record even still possible? Now here is, to those questions, here is a reply from an aerospace source that I'm going to share with you. The first reply is about JSOC. It's interesting to me that JSOC has played such a heavy hand in the gear shift of so much in the last 70, 80 years about the evolution of our government trying to deal with extraterrestrial biological entities and their artificial intelligence. And most Americans don't even know what JSOC is. And it is the Joint Special Operations Command. If you want to learn more about those that have a lot of control over what is being released, what is being changed, what is happening, start reading and educating yourself about JSOC. The answer currently, since December, JSOC needs more money and is putting intense pressure on politicians and policymakers, such as Senator Schumer, to facilitate that more public hearings or less as the highly charged politics of 2024 unfold. That JSOC wants control, but they want more money to do the controlling. Our group's response to Senator Schumer is come clean on disclosure. And he actually put in non-human intelligence. He used those words in the various news headlines that were out, that we were dealing with non-human intelligence or NHI, and that this was the new way of saying extraterrestrial. And then Senator Schumer added these words, let's be really clear, space, alien, life form. The sheer fact that Senator Schumer put that in the wording speaks volumes about the importance of this information. And the man answering this to me said, Linda, this is your government actually saying the truth in the NDAA bill that was the ball being kicked around at the time for funding. For God's sake, how much more disclosure do people need, I wonder? You will hear much more from several other senators in the coming months about the NHI, the non-human intelligence, and the threat from Epsilon Eridani, the insects that were named Trontoloids for President Ronald Reagan in a briefing at Camp David, March 4th to 6th, 1981, that I have reported about extensively in my Earthfiles YouTube channel and at earthfiles.com. We need more money. We need to show a viable threat from space to get more money. As I've told you before, when funds run low or JSOC needs more funding, you can fill in the blanks. About Proxima B, simply to avoid all the uncomfortable questions about humans, excuse me, and the firing of Kirkpatrick, they go hand in hand. He tried and almost succeeded in preventing classified information to be given to the Senate Intelligence Committee concerning real human beings living on TRAPPIST-1E, 40 light years from Earth, and how they are both older than us and that they are more technically capable than us. The dirty rumor circulating around is that TRAPPIST-1E, that is the middle of 7 planets orbiting the TRAPPIST-1 star, 40 light years from here. The quote, dirty rumor circulating around is that TRAPPIST-1E may be our ancestors. The issue pushing Proxima B into the public, other countries and independent organizations with the correct astronomical equipment are also getting the same data on Proxima B. It won't be long for that to splash into the headlines. I suspect around May 2024 at the latest. There is too much data coming in to hide the facts from qualified experts that are not attached to any particular government entity or agency. And I say, yes, but at that point, and what will happen to your access? And he answers, at that point, I will no longer have access to any further information that is currently classified. I will be out of the trenches, so to speak, and I will be able to conduct interviews and answer questions openly. And I will do my absolute best to assist you in that process. I and several others needed a platform to push this information into the public domain. And that I know personally of a DIA agent that you did speak with in December of 1999. That in itself drove me and a couple of others to you and your research. And that is a reference to something I have talked about in my Earthfiles YouTube channel. It is without doubt the single most significant 7-hour discussion that I've ever had with humans on Earth. It took place in December of 1999 with a man who was retiring from the Defense Intelligence Agency after approximately 23 years. And his job, as he said, was to monitor and report about the conflict of 3 extraterrestrial civilizations over Earth, the Moon, and Mars, and beyond. And that in those conflicts, that the 3 main groups fighting each other that our government was studying and trying to monitor, because they all shapeshift. All of them can shapeshift. A blonde can look like a reptilian can look like a blonde, a gray can look like a blonde or a reptilian, and around they go. And it apparently has been one of the biggest frustrations by our government, because being able to trust what is in front of you is not actually possible. I want to increase JSOC's exposure in the UAP, NHI, the non-human intelligence programs. and push the new NDAA over the finish line, which is what Senator Schumer also says that he would like to do as soon as possible. At that point, we can all say disclosure has actually occurred publicly, meaning if they can get more through Schumer and other congressional efforts to open up things legally and technically, which have been slammed shut again. He says, I have much material prepared for this year coming up, and I will be distributing DIA internal reports to you as I can. You can look over them and handpick material that's relevant to your research or your YouTube channel. Some is classified and some is not. I will do my best to highlight on some of these what is currently being used in our deep space exploration programs. There really is a USS Curtis LeMay. There are 2 others. We have 3 large Space Force craft that are going out in this region between Earth and 9 to 11 to 40 light years, where we know we have established, and it hasn't been reported to Earth yet, but we have established that there are what are called intelligent high civilizations. The more information and data we get through your YouTube platform, the more eyes we will pull in from JSOC, Senate Intelligence Committees, and some people that I know in NASA. These are the friends that matter when it comes to disclosure. Whether you know it or not, Congress has some watchful fans of your Earth Files YouTube broadcasts. I hope that's true. I hope that's true for a lot of you, because I truly am trying to share as much evidentiary material as I can. And the hard part is that the truth of the existence of other intelligences in this conscious universe has been the best kept secret since World War II, and that the danger ahead of us for the rest of this decade may be serious. What would happen if we could be introduced right now, honestly, around the world by satellite to everyone who tuned in? We want to introduce you to extraterrestrial biological entities that we have been collaborating with since World War II. We can assure you they don't want Earth and they don't want you. They want to help life that they have been involved with manipulation in creating, Homo sapien. And something like that, at this point, just a show of hands and voice, do you think that all of you would welcome a satellite broadcast introducing extraterrestrials that were called tall whites or any others to the Earth as being here to help us? To be on a planet that has been living such severe, deep lives for so many centuries. Who, what, and why is actually in control? And if the tall whites, who some people will in the government say, bullshit, there are no tall whites. When they say bullshit, you can almost take it to the bank, it's true. So the tall whites, the Nordics, a variety of grades, a variety of humanoids that are blue, gray, various colors, that there are as many different ones of them as we think about different countries, but we think of Homo sapiens sapien as one species occupying this planet. If that is the truth, then we're talking about the possibility of learning in the next 1 to 3 years that there may be as many as 16 high civilization planets within 20 light years of our planet Earth. I would welcome it. I think all humans feel that something is truly amiss, that those that seem to always end up running Earth are like the Anunnaki of centuries ago, mean, violent, all the things that are the opposite of what later generations of humans seem to revere. and that I feel today, if we were on a planet that embraced each other as a species, and that somehow, maybe with the help of extraterrestrials like the tall whites, that war could somehow be eliminated, that we would finally be on a planet that would put the priority into us, humans, being able to collaborate with ETs, creating a world that was never going to be too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. That this beautiful planet Earth, that other non-humans have communicated to our government at points, that we don't understand how significantly special Earth is. If we could just go forward from here to truth, that we are only one of a huge number of consciousnesses, and that bigger than everything else, we are in a universe that is conscious, and it interacts through frequencies with our brains and animal brains. And this is one of my favorite subjects now to explore, and on Sunday, I'm going to be sharing what I still consider to be one of my favorite presentations, from brains to galaxies. The universe is conscious, and the key is frequencies. Let's hope next year, 5 years, that people like you and I could be in an auditorium like this, being introduced to an extraterrestrial biological intelligence who actually cares whether we live or not.
If you enjoyed this, make sure to watch the next video on AwakenZone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, but you won't want to miss what's coming next.